But I'm going to read my comment and then elaborate some more. All right. The comment that I posted is this. There is some low-key gender role confusion at play in the black community. The dark-skinned black males are like the damsels in distress, and the dark-skinned black females are like the heroic knights that come to the rescue. What's up with that? And it got about, so far it has 411 likes. Or thumbs up, you know. And I really think this is something that goes over a lot of people's heads in the black community, both men and women. But when you really think about it, there is some low-key gender role confusion. Think about it, you know? Like the dark-skinned men are considered the damsels in distress because they always getting caught up in something, right? Um, Oddly enough, the females, the dark-skinned, brown-skinned females, don't tend to be able to play the damsel in distress role and someone come to their rescue. For some reason, that just doesn't seem to happen as much. Right, already right there, we got a problem. Also, but dark-skinned black men admired for looks. They're admired and put on a pedestal and uplifted merely for looks, body, and like looks, body, perceived masculinity or hyper masculinity, and nigga dick. That's it, you know. That tends to be like the bar is really set low. And really, when it comes to uplifting folks, usually women get uplifted for their looks, not men. You know? And before I go further, I meant to come through with this disclaimer before, but I know some folks gonna be offended, gonna be butthurt. Um, if it don't apply, let it fly. But I'm speaking more so as a collective, because I know some dark-skinned men gonna come through and be like, "Oh no, that ain't me. That ain't me." But I'm speaking more so as a collective, and how kind of like the media and public image is of dark-skinned, brown-skinned black men and dark-skinned, brown-skinned black women. Because I already know some dude gonna be like, I'm a big, strong, dark-skinned Wakanda Mandingo warrior. I ain't no goddamn damsel in distress, you waffle color nigga. I bet you someone gonna be like, but like I said, if it don't apply, let it fly. Alright. Now let's continue. Um, but yeah, so yeah, admired for looks. Also, a perceived masculinity slash hyper masculinity that often really doesn't rise to the occasion when we really need some masculine things to be done. As quiet as it's kept, it tends to be more so for show. I mean, there is athleticism involved. I will say that, but still, even with that, I think it should be more. It should be more, honestly. You know. And under my comment, a user wrote the following comment. She's a female, and she wrote, "Yes. Also, the dark-skinned men are the beautiful ones in our race. They are admired for their attractiveness, while black women are admired for their strength. You know how many times I heard, I love black women because they're strong? Black women aren't goddamn bodybuilders or professional boxers, shaking my head. This is some backwards shit." And it got about 111 thumbs up. But, if you really think about it, this is some low-key feminine shit that doesn't get called out for some reason. And I'm, looking at the black women too. I'm like, side-eyeing you, giving you the side eye. I guess it must work for you. And if you like it, I love it. You know. But also something to note, this is usually what they attribute to light-skinned black men. This, wanting to be, um, just the best looking, just so obsessed with looks, and vain, and like, they always try to push that feminine shit on the light-skinned dudes. But when you really take a moment and really think critically and just just think about it for a minute, we really know who the feminine ones be. All right. So quit projecting, my nigga. Quit projecting. Also, another thing to note too. Usually, when a light-skinned, biracial, or mixed man is being uplifted, it's usually because of something that he did, not just because of how he looks. Notice that. So the bar is set higher for light-skinned, biracial, mixed men than it is for dark and brown-skinned men. Hmm. Like Colin Kaepernick and Jesse Williams were uplifted because of what they did, not because of how they looked, And not that there's anything wrong with how they look, but black women were not uplifting them because of their looks, right? Not, they were uplifting them because of, their actions and what they've said and what they spoke on and spoke about and spoke out against. And a sidebar, like Colin Kaepernick, as well as Jesse Williams, but especially Colin Kaepernick, should have, like, you brown skinned, dark skinned niggas, especially in the NFL, y'all should be embarrassed and ashamed that Colin Kaepernick became the face of black social justice advocacy through the NFL. You telling me, out of all those brown and dark-skinned men in the NFL, it took a half-black, a biracial man to speak on police brutality, an issue that really affects the brown-skinned and dark-skinned men more than the light-skinned and biracial and mixed men, to keep it real. This is how you know something ain't right. Something is fucked up here. But let's move on. All right. Brown skinned and dark skinned black women, heroic warriors, right? They're admired more so for their strength and independence, right? They tend not to be uplifted because of how they look. Not that they aren't good looking, but they tend not to be uplifted because of their looks, right? They tend not to be put on the pedestal because of their looks. They tend to be put on the pedestal because they may low-key coddle brown and dark-skinned black men, and because of their social justice advocacy for them, right? Thus being the heroic warriors that come to their rescue and advocate for them. Really things that they should be doing for themselves and for the women and for just the community in general, right? And this has come to be expected of brown-skinned and dark-skinned black women, right? But I don't know if it's expected of light-skinned, biracial, and mixed women, and even, non-black women especially. I don't think these same dudes expect those women to do that for them, right? And they know better than to ask them to do that for them because they're not going to. You know? And also, I think part of the reason why some black men tend to gravitate towards the light skin, mixed biracial, mixed chicks, and the non-black women is because those women don't need as much protection as the brown skin, dark skin women do. Thus, less work for them, right? Usually, those women tend to be more protected. You know, they don't really have to, quote unquote, protect um, light-skinned biracial mixed women and non-black women like that. Because it's kind of like the system is set up so that they kind of have protection already in place for those women, right? And honestly, I just want to get into a quick little history lesson, to sort of tie all this together, right? So historically, dark-skinned and brown-skinned black men couldn't protect brown-skinned and dark-skinned black women nor themselves, right? Historically, back on the plantation, that brown skin, or really that dark skin at that time, that dark skinned African man could not protect that dark skinned African woman from being raped. Honestly, he couldn't protect himself from being raped and whipped, as quiet as it's kept. So he couldn't protect her either, right? Oftentimes, the dark-skinned African female was low-key protecting the dark-skinned African man by offering herself up uh, for um, sexual relations, sexual intercourse to that white KB slave owner. And even after slavery, right, and during Jim Crow, he still couldn't protect that brown-skinned, dark-skinned black woman. No, still couldn't protect himself either. He had to worry about getting lynched. She had to worry about getting raped, right? And fast forward to today, it's still the same thing. It's just remixed, but it's the same thing. It seemed like the black women low-key are providing more protection to the dark skinned, brown skinned black men than vice versa, right? And even low key, black media sort of perpetuates this narrative too. Like the whole like struggle love, right? Build a brother up, right? Um, Protesting on behalf of black men, right? Cinderella stories or Cinderella type stories tend not to be marketed to black women, especially from like the black media. They tend not to market those stories towards black women. So like, is this like a low-key brainwashing or indoctrination of some kind? Because usually, like you had movies like Pretty Woman, right? Hey, even if she was a prostitute, she was able to get a come up, right? Even though she was a prostitute, she was still able to have her Cinderella story. That man put her in the Ho No Mo program, cleaned her up, and turned her into a decent, respectable woman, right? And then like Made in Manhattan, that's another one. And of course all of the like like the Disney princesses, right? And I had a teacher, she was a white teacher, and she said that she was like, she tries to limit her daughter as far as like, that whole Disney princess thing, because she didn't want her daughter to kind of, I guess, fall into that sort of like low key, like depending on the man type of thing. But I think with the black women, it tends to be like the opposite. I think the black women needs to be pushed some of that, and I think the white women are trying to get pushed some of the other, what the black women have, you know. And also, I forgot to mention about slavery. I think the process of slavery was emasculating for black men, but also emasculated, if that's the word, black women, because black or the dark skinned African woman and the dark skinned African men were both outside in the field. So it's kind of like they were on more or less the same footing with each other, and were expected to provide this more or less the same work output as well. you know and historically that has continued to present day. you know. And then, at this point now, I'm like, do, you know, brown skinned and dark skinned men want to be in this position that they're in? They seem like they are pretty comfortable in that position. Even in some of the media that they push out, the ride or die chick, the chick that holds you down, right? And as well, women. Are the brown skinned and dark skinned women, are they comfortable in this position? Do they like being the heroic warrior that comes to the rescue? I wonder.